Alright, so I'm 41 and something shifted in me lately. You hit a certain age and things that used to feel normal suddenly start feeling ridiculous, and you look at your own habits and think, why am I still doing this? Who exactly am I trying to impress here? It creeps in slowly and suddenly you're questioning stuff you've carried for decades without ever stopping to ask if any of it actually made sense. For most of my life, I've spent years chasing things I genuinely thought would fix everything. Diets, routines, different ways of eating, different ways of living, always trying to find the magic switch. I'd see someone online talk with absolute confidence and think, alright, maybe that's the missing piece. And I tried to twist my whole life into whatever plan they were selling, and none of it ever actually made me feel better. If anything, it made things heavier because suddenly I wasn't just trying to get healthy, I was trying to live someone else's version of healthy. You eventually reach a point where you're not impressed by any of that anymore. You get tired of forcing yourself into shapes that don't fit you. You get tired of pretending something is the answer just because it worked for someone on the internet. And you start thinking, yeah, I'm done with this nonsense. I don't want to spend the second half of my life dragging around expectations that I never agreed to. It took me a long time to realise how much of my life was shaped by pressure I didn't actually sign up for. A lot of it came from the usual places: social media, random opinions, people who talk like they've solved the entire universe because something worked for them once. You can take in a lot of that stuff without noticing, and before you know it, you're living by rules you never agreed to. I've spent years trying to live up to standards that weren't mine, trying to be disciplined in ways that didn't fit my life, trying to follow diets that never matched who I am, trying to keep up with that expectation that didn't make sense for me. It gets tiring pretending it's normal. Eventually you hit a point where you just go, why am I even doing this? Who told me I needed to live like this? And that's when the pressure starts to lose its power. Not because life gets easier, but because you finally see which expectations were yours and which ones you can let go of. One of the biggest changes for me came from simplifying my food, not in a scientific or perfect macro ratio way, just simplifying. Rice, potatoes, fruit, water, coffee. Straightforward food that doesn't take over your whole day. I didn't realise how exhausting constant food decisions were until I removed them. When my food is simple, my head is quieter. I'm not thinking in circles, I'm not overanalyzing. I'm not bouncing between cravings and guilt. I eat and I move on. And that alone made my whole life feel calmer. Simplicity is underrated because it doesn't sound exciting, but honestly, at this stage in my life, excitement is completely overrated. Peace is better, predictable is better. Knowing exactly what works for my body is better than jumping onto whatever extreme health advice is trending this week. And I don't think it's just food. I think simplifying anything, routines, your environment, the people around you, gives you that mental space you didn't know you were missing. When I look back at my 20s and 30s, so much of it was noise. Constant stimulation, constant comparison, constant pressure. You get trained to sprint non-stop even when you're not going anywhere. There's something about getting older when your brain finally says, enough, I'm not living like that anymore. And I'm not saying I want to disappear into the woods and never speak to anyone again. I love connecting with people, just not in ways that drain me or twist me into someone I'm not. In my 40s, I care way more about peace than trying to impress anyone. And that's a big shift for someone who spent years trying to get everything right, whether it was diets, fitness, life choices, or whatever. I always felt like I needed to prove something. To who? I genuinely don't know. You know, most people don't care what you're doing anyway. This whole shift didn't come from a motivational epiphany. It wasn't a New Year's resolution or some fresh start energy. It was just honesty, a quiet honesty that shows up when you've lived enough life to see your patterns clearly. You start realising life isn't as long as it felt when you were younger, and wasting years on nonsense suddenly feels unacceptable. It's not a loud moment, it's a slow clarity. You finally hear your own thoughts without all the background noise. You look at how you've been living, and instead of beating yourself up, you just decide you don't want to repeat the same behaviour anymore. It's simple, but it hits differently. That's when your priorities shift without you forcing it. Things that used to matter just don't anymore. And the things you ignored for years become the only things that feel worth keeping. You know, I no longer have the energy to keep restarting from zero every few months. I don't want to jump between diet extremes or pretend I'm some machine that can follow a perfect plan forever. I want structure, I want predictability. I want to know that if I just follow a few simple things, my life will stay stable. And honestly, that's all most people want. They're just too embarrassed to admit it because simplicity doesn't sound as impressive as a big transformation story. The other thing I'm realising is how much life is just noise. People constantly bashing other people's diets, arguments online. You're not eating enough protein. You're eating too many carbs. Your diet isn't balanced. People love to shout, and none of them live in your body. None of them know your pain levels, your cravings, your stress, your sleep, your mental health, or your history with food. People speak with confidence about things they've never experienced. I spent years letting that noise push me off course, and I'm not doing that anymore. I want a quiet approach, something steady. Turning 41 made me realise how honest I want to be with myself. You can't progress if you keep babying your excuses, but you also can't progress if you keep treating yourself like an enemy. There's a middle ground where you understand your patterns without beating yourself up over them. That's the space I'm trying to live in right now. So when I say I'm done, I'm not talking about giving up. I'm talking about being done with the version of my life that never actually made sense for me. I'm done overthinking food, overcomplicating weight loss, chasing aesthetics that don't matter at all, trying to impress people who don't care, and pretending things are fine when they're not. You know, I'm an extremely simple man. I want a simple life. Not boring, just simple. A life where eating is predictable, habits are manageable, routines feel grounded, and my head isn't constantly spinning. I want to feel calm. I want to wake up knowing my plan isn't going to fall apart the second life gets messy. And I want habits that actually fit me instead of ones I try to force because someone online said they were optimal. And weirdly enough, this is the first time I feel like I'm building something instead of chasing something. I'm not pushing for perfection anymore. I'm building a life that actually suits me. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be real. So yeah, I'm 41 and I'm finally done. And honestly, this feels like the most stable I've ever been.